So, and they never have to worry about soft tissue injuries because they heal like you're a fucking 6-year-old.
Right.
You know, you just your body just like
You're like Wolverine.
yeah. Oh yeah, man. Well, that's the thing about peptides too.
Hey everybody, I planned to take this weekend off. Then I saw that Joe Rogan had Matt Damon and Ben Affleck on the podcast. They start casually shooting the breeze about peptides, and I just couldn't help myself. Couple of my favorite actors talking about a couple of my favorite topics. I never thought I'd live in a world where Will Hunting and Chucky Sullivan are talking about BPC 157 and TB 500, where Daredevil is talking about the Wolverine stack. Now, I'm aware, if you go through my channel history, I've talked about BPC 157, TB 500 dozens of times, so I'm going to treat this conversation less as a deep dive and more as an opportunity to step back and evaluate the confidence behind some of the claims being made here. Think of this as like a high-level review. You can absolutely use my older videos for mechanistic weeds, but today's focus is simple. What do we actually know, and how much of this is inference versus evidence? So let's run the clip.
So, and they never have to worry about soft tissue injuries because they heal like you're a fucking 6-year-old.
Right.
You know, you just your body just like
You're like Wolverine.
yeah. Oh yeah, man. Well, that's the thing about peptides too. The Wolverine stack, BP 157 and TB 500. I don't know if you ever get injured. If you ever get injured, get immediately on BP 157 and TB 500.
I didn't hear about TB 500. What's that one?
Thymosin beta 500.
Oh, yes,
It's in conjunction with BPC 157. It is a phenomenal stack, and it just really helps injuries.
I didn't know they called it the Wolverine stack.
That's what they call it, the Wolverine
For
stack.
healing,
Because you fucking heal incredibly well. Like it quickly. I was talking to a pro football player, pulled his hamstring. He's like, dude, I shot that shit right into my hamstring for 2 weeks, and I was right back on the field.
Wow.
I was like, that's nuts.
Yeah.
I go, what is a normal rehab? He goes, 3 months. He goes, in 2 weeks, I was back on the field. I go, what the I don't know how bad the injury was. He goes, but to me, it's like, I pulled my hamstring. I'm now for X amount of days. He goes, and 2 weeks later, I was playing full tilt.
Not too long ago, peptides felt like a niche internet biohacker topic, and now they fully crossed into the mainstream. And on that note, if you enjoy peptide-related content, hitting subscribe genuinely helps the channel better than anything else. That aside, BPC 157 and TB 500 are frequently framed as the most supreme of options for musculoskeletal injury recovery. The preclinical data is intriguing, anecdote seems to be everywhere, online forums are full of success stories. You can take a look at Reddit, it's filled with them, and now even professional athletes are openly talking about their use. Now, where I tend to diverge from a lot of these conversations is in how confidently conclusions are drawn. My perspective has always been pretty straightforward. If we're willing to infer benefit based on preclinical data, we should apply that same standard when thinking about potential risk. My goal here isn't to sell anything or push an agenda. I turn down affiliates with gray market peptide sites. You won't find my promo code. My goal is simply to read the literature, cite it in my reference list, and talk through what it does and doesn't actually tell us. Agree or disagree, that's all this channel is about. Bluntly, my main concern with BPC 157 is that it appears reliably angiogenic in preclinical models and upregulates growth factor signaling pathways, including VEGF, vascular endothelial growth factor, pathways that oncology research often tries to suppress because of their role in supporting tumor environments. Doesn't mean BPC 157 causes cancer. It means biology rarely gives us free lunches, and signaling pathways that aid repair in one context can be undesirable in another. Similarly, TB500's marketed as a fragment of thymosin beta 4, a peptide known to be angiogenic and anti-apoptotic, meaning it can inhibit programmed cell death. Those properties are precisely why TB4 itself has been studied in wound healing and tissue repair, but also why it shows up in cancer-related research as a pathway of interest. Again, it's not proof of harm, it's a reason to avoid pretending that the compounds are risk-free, especially when we're looking at the research that's stuck in its earliest phases. I've also got some concerns about research quality, which we've talked about before. A substantial majority of published BPC 157 literature comes from the same University of Zagreb group, led by Dr. Predrag Sikoric. Doesn't invalidate the findings, but it does raise questions questions about replication and independent conformation, which are key components of research augmentation. Now, with TB500 specifically, often described as thymosin beta-4 acylated fragment 17 to 23, I find the literature especially thin and frankly guilty of what's called citation laundering, at least in the way it's commonly presented online. Claims are frequently repeated across papers without primary experimental evidence on the fragment itself. When you actually chase the citations, you often just end up circling back to the claim rather than the data supporting it. Now let's talk about something that came up directly in the clip: local versus sub-Q injection, and it's worth noting I just released a video on this topic. Joe and his guests describe the so-called Wolverine stack, BPC-157 and TB500, and emphasize injecting directly into the injured tissue with the implication that this is both superior and obvious. The honest reality is more nuanced, like with everything else. Both local and sub-Q administration are biologically plausible. Neither's been demonstrated as definitively superior in humans, and preferences are largely shaped by anecdote rather than controlled comparison. Local administration may increase short-term exposure in superficial or low blood flow tissues, but it also introduces things like variability, technical difficulty, and assumptions about anatomy that most people aren't equipped to navigate. Subcutaneous injection, while less targeted, is far more standardized and predictable in terms of absorption, even if that absorption is incomplete or variable, or not as strong as it may be at a target tissue if one is able to access it. So the real takeaway isn't that one method is right and the other is wrong, it's that confidence here has far outpaced evidence. But if we zoom out and strip away the podcast framing entirely, what are we left with? Two peptides with compelling preclinical signals, overwhelming anecdote, and a surprisingly thin layer of human data bridging the gap. BPC-157 consistently shows effects in animal models related to angiogenesis, fibroblast activity, tissue repair signaling, particularly when administered near injured tissue. That part is real. What isn't demonstrated yet is how those effects translate across routes of administration in humans. We don't have simple pharmacokinetic curves. We don't have tissue concentration data. We don't have dose-response relationships. We're inferring mostly everything with regards to pharmacokinetics and safety. The same largely applies to TB500. The Wolverine stack is anecdotally popular and frequently praised, but the conversation surrounding it's predominantly one-sided. And my goal is not to dismiss these compounds, it's to encourage a more complete discussion. Although some people frame that as fear-mongering or even worse terms, judging by my comments, my take's the opposite. Inferring both potential benefit and potential risk is how you actually empower people, especially in a space where the research is thin, uneven, and often overstated, which I hold isn't directly negativity, it's just responsible analysis. But thank you for watching. Definitely leave a comment below. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll leave a link to my Patreon for those who want to check it out. Thank you, have a great day, take care.
Cut to the chase, evidence-based. Pull up a chair, let's get this straight. Peptide buddy, he's your peptide buddy.